Today is Saturday, June 14th, and we welcome you back to the Frozen Edge podcast, your home for daily picks, props, and parlays. Now down to the final few games of the Stanley Cup final. He's Timo Seppa, former senior manager of hockey analytics at the NHL. I'm Casey Ditzel. And Timo, it is now a best of three between Florida and Edmonton, and it has continued to excite game
Yeah.
four, another overtime finish.
Yeah, what a series. We thought it would be a great series. We thought it would be a long series. Um, it certainly I bet if you polled people, asked people, looked at the hot takes during the last game, you would have a lot of people thinking that Florida was going to finish it off, go up 3-1, maybe even win here in five. It has been a roller coaster, really exciting series. Not looking for anything less here. So I think we got some more excitement in store. Good stuff ahead here.
Was a back and forth game, kind of like the whole series of last year. A 3-0 lead for the Florida Panthers that was quickly vanquished by Edmonton. 4 straight goals for the Oilers. A late extra attacker goal as Florida had to pull their goalie. They score in the final couple seconds, but Leon Draisaitl breaking hearts there. And maybe that's the shift that the Oilers need there, kind of overcoming that 3-0 deficit like they couldn't do last year to win the cup. Well, all of a sudden the series is tied 2-2, and it went from kind of a feeling in period number one where this series was over. The Florida Panthers had lifted the Stanley Cup, all but that. And all of a sudden now, heading back home, the Oilers are somewhat in a potential driver's seat here to really take a stronghold of this series.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like Edmonton now. I am still sticking with Florida, but this is a close series. It could go either way. Uh, Good stuff here.
What did you see in that game? The Panthers with that 3-0 lead kind of coming out, uh, all guns blazing, and then all of a sudden it looked like Edmonton really kind of started to run over them, maybe figured out how to defend that style of punting pucks and chasing. But to me, it looked a little bit like Florida ran out of gas. Was it that or Edmonton just having another gear? How do you see that kind of playing forward here as we look to the next couple?
Part of it is sports. I think I noticed this myself first when I watching baseball, I used to have partial season tickets to Yankees games, and I just remember a lot of games where they jump out to a 3-0 lead in the first inning, and you're like, oh, they're gonna pound this other team. And they probably left a couple runs there. They maybe could have gone up 5-0, and then that's all they ever score. And okay, it's baseball, it's not hockey, but stuff changes period to period. You got to capitalize when you got a good period, and Florida did. I mean, 3-0 is a great lead. Stuff happens. Each period can have its own character. Obviously, second period you have the long change and that stuff too. But depending on how teams take penalties. Obviously, one of the big changes during the game was the fact that Skinner got pulled and Pickard came in. So that can change the nature of a game as well. I didn't think Pickard was looked impervious. He had that great save on the breakaway early when he came in. He looked vulnerable, but Florida didn't have it to put Edmonton away in that game. They were obviously game to get the extra attacker goal. Yeah, good series. Edmonton bounced back. Stuff happens. The goalie change is interesting. The goalie change is interesting going forward.
As you look at that game, Edmonton 10-2 in regular season games after 2 consecutive losses. Now 2-0 in the playoffs. And Florida's 3-0 lead was quickly vanquished. We now move to game five, just one day of rest rather than the 2 days they had sitting in Sunrise. And inside of that, they had to make the
Yeah.
longest trip in Stanley Cup playoff history, matching last year, heading from Sunrise to Edmonton. Tonight, the game in Edmonton, where the Oilers are the favorite, minus 25, minus 125 on the money line. Florida plus 104 is the underdog. Edmonton is plus 198 to cover a minus 1.5 spread. Again, the over under set at 6.5. That has hit all 4 games so far. Plus 104 for the over, minus 128 on the under, Timo. And as you look at that, let's start there. What are you seeing in any of those odds standing out to you? Maybe where you're leaning here to go game 5, because I think we have two
Yeah.
opposite ways we're looking at this.
Yeah. First of all, I'll actually jump in on the over under. That's not normally my thing. Um, Last year, it was the games in the meat of the series, as that I called it, the games 3, 4, and 5 that went over. So I'm going to say that we continue with that, with what this series has been doing, and I'm looking for an over here. Who knows? Maybe we get a 2-1 game, but I like the over on this game. I do think that the two of us are leaning differently from what you mentioned. I am still confident in Florida overall, and I still like the stats that I've been beaten on here for the last couple series. The fact that Edmonton is weaker in games 1 through 3, stronger in games 4 through 7. In the last 4 postseasons, Edmonton's strongest games in games 4 through 7, for what it's worth, have been games 4 and 6. So they are relatively weaker in games 5 and 7. So they've been 8 and 3, 73% in game 5. So that's still great, but they're facing a really good Florida team. We know how good this Florida team is. So they're not just facing some first round opponent. So I see game 5 as a relative weakness for Edmonton, despite their strengths coming on late in series. So I'm looking for road teams here in games 5 through 7. It may not work out that way. Maybe the script flips around and they split these games and the home teams win the next two. But I'm still feeling Florida for the series, and I'm going to favor Florida tonight.
My original pick, I'm starting to waver on. The Edmonton Oilers seem to have that team of destiny feel that you've talked about throughout the Western Conference playoffs. After getting that win, I think that was a turning point in this series.
Sure.
And I'm leaning towards that minus 1.5 spread here. I think they have a chance at home. And I think it all comes down to who's going to score first. Because again, I think this wouldn't be the bet I would go to picking between the two teams, because I kind of see this as a toss up, but I think it can go one of two ways, where we could see a tight game that Florida is going to be able to grind out, stick through it on the road, a tough environment there, or Edmonton scores first, gets the place rocking, and I think they have an opportunity to go out, kind of blow this one out of the water. Maybe still Florida able to bounce back in game 6. But it is
Yeah.
interesting, as you mentioned, how strong Edmonton is in game 6. And you would think Florida is kind of going to have that chip on their back coming back after that loss, and maybe a little bit extra pressure on the Florida Panthers here if they want to come away with this series.
Yeah. And, also remembering back to last year, Edmonton had two kind of blowout wins in the last 4 games. So maybe this is a blowout win for Edmonton, just like Florida had a blowout win. So it could happen. I just like Florida's quality and resiliency. So whether that they're resilient and they uh, beat Edmonton tonight on the road, or whether they're resilient and come back and win while they're trailing 3-2 in game 6. I think that Florida is going to get to game 7.
The one thing I continue to root for is more overtime periods than games played. We're at a dead heap. 4 games played, 4 overtime periods so far. We'll
All
see
right.
if that can continue. as well. Sam Bennett leads the Conn Smythe, and he is a plus 140 favorite. Interestingly enough, he has longer shot odds to score a goal, which you would think has to happen for him to win the Conn Smythe. Bennett has now set a Stanley Cup playoff record 12 road goals, 12 goals on the road this playoffs, passing Mark Scheifele. He is plus 200 for an anytime goal here, Timo, which seems to be where he thrives. He only has 14 goals this postseason. 12 of the 14 have come on the road.
Yeah, it seems like a good bet. Again, it's a little bit of a quirky stat. I mean, Florida's been good on the road this postseason. There's no question to that. I mean, does past performance guarantee future results? No, it doesn't. But it seems like a pretty good bet, and I'm kind of surprised that the odds aren't different than that, given the fact that people probably want to jump all over that if they realize that Bennett already has a record in road goals for a playoffs.
Plus 200 are the odds there. He had two goals in game one where the Panthers lost in overtime. He also had a goal in the 5-4 double overtime victory. Three of his four Stanley Cup playoff goals have come on the road in Edmonton as they head back that way here for game five. A couple other players I'm looking are the next two in the Conn Smythe race in the big dogs on Edmonton. Each McDavid and
Mm,
Draisaitl to pick up a pair of points. We expect this to be high flying. We are both expecting the over in this game. They have been big drivers of the offense here. McDavid with 5 points in the first two games of this series. He had two assists in game one, three assists in game two, and was held relatively quiet on the road in Florida, pointless in game three, just one assist in game four. Still looking for his first goal of the series. That could be one way to look. Plus 140 for Connor McDavid to pick up a goal. He's
mm,
more of a playmaker, but again, does not have one in this series yet. And Leon Draisaitl was also a big driver, except it's been in the goals category. He had two goals in the first game, including the overtime game winner, a goal and an assist in game two back in Edmonton, now coming off a 3 point game where he had the overtime goal as well as two assists. And that, as we called him at 12 to 1, has shot him
mm.
up the Conn Smythe odds. Quickly looking at the odds on those guys to get 2 points: McDavid minus 128, Draisaitl plus 102 on the road. Draisaitl to pick up a goal is the favorite tonight, plus 105. But now the Conn Smythe today, Sam Bennett the favorite, plus 140, and Timo will, I guess, start there as we look down the line here.
Yeah,
But you got to think that's not a great spot to
no,
throw some money on it. If anything, you got to think he has to score goals, plus 200 to get a goal. But later down the list, you've still got McDavid and Draisaitl
yeah,
uh, at kind of longer shot odds. Draisaitl plus 225, not the same as the plus
no.
1,250 we saw him at the other day, but still longer, plus 260 on Connor McDavid, and then some longer shot odds if you're looking at other Panthers.
Yeah, you know, buy low, sell high, or in this case, just buy low. So I mean, we've been giving you picks when these players have longer odds. We liked Bennett and Marchand early, and they jumped up in the odds. We like Draisaitl, and he's jumped up in the odds. Um, yeah, I mean it's surprising, I guess, for Connor McDavid to even be in third place. I think he is a good place to put some safe money if you're looking for Conn Smythe, especially if Edmonton goes on to win. But could he win the Conn Smythe as a loser again? It's not out of the question. Yeah, the guy that we liked earlier that who is not up the odds chart is Marchand. I think the good money bet here for to get a big payoff right now is Marchand. So I think he's been a gamer. We've said that all along 16 to 1 for Marchand, I think is the place to put a few bucks if you're looking for to hit for a longer shot. And as far as one of the uh, bigger favorites, I think I'd like McDavid at plus 260.
And we'll see where that can go. Next time we talk, Timo, one of these two teams is going to have a chance to lift the Stanley Cup, and the Stanley Cup will be in the building. The 2-2 series game five comes tonight at 8 p.m., and we will have a 3-2 series lead going into Tuesday's contest a couple days off before Timo and I are back here. Timo, you've got a graduation to attend today here. Some exciting family stuff going on. Your second of the spring since we've started this show.
Yeah, this is my youngest Phoebe. Congratulations to her. She is graduating high school. Unfortunately, we have a rainy day, which is pushing the outdoor graduation indoor, and which allows only 3 of 4 of our family members to sit in the crowded gymnasium. So I am going to take the hit and watch from the auditorium on the screen, which is all right to me since I am still recovering from my knee thing, and I don't think I want to sit in cramped bleachers. So um, we're relatively okay with that, but that is coming up, and that is our family excitement here for today.
Well, enjoy the festivities. I sit in a blank canvas behind me here, moving out officially of the college townhouse here, and college has come to a close for good now, which is a real bummer. But we'll be back in Rochester and ready to go on Tuesday. Very excited for this one. Hoping we get a tight contest, or maybe following my words of the Edmonton blowout. But I think I would much rather see an overtime Florida win. We'll
Yeah,
wait and see.
yeah, Casey, what do you see as far as the goaltending for tonight? We didn't hit that. Just I'm thinking that Edmonton is going back to Pickard. Any thoughts on Pickard versus Skinner here before we go?
If and it hasn't been announced as we record here about 9 a.m. so far, but if I'm Edmonton, it is a clear decision. I don't see any reason why you would not go with Cal Pickard. I thought, you said he wasn't great. I thought he was excellent, or at least great enough, just because when called upon, nothing got behind him there
Yeah,
until
no,
that
he
extra attacker goal.
100%. I
And
mean,
right.
he did what he needed to do, and I think that's where Edmonton has to go. And he's 7-0 in the playoffs now. I don't think the stats bear out him being particularly better than Skinner. I think it's sort of ultimately not that much difference which one goes in, at least statistically. One of the things I looked at was just because Edmonton has struggled so much on PK is how the goalies have done when the other team has the PK. Um, Pickard marginally better in the postseason, very tiny sample, but Skinner was better uh, defending the opponent's power play in the regular season. So I don't see the goaltender choice, at least statistically, um, affecting that weakness of Edmonton. So I do expect Pickard to be in there. Um, I think he's got a chance to be solid, and I think it's good to switch things up. So Florida's going to have to at least try to. It's going to be a different look. They've seen a lot of Stuart Skinner. They're going to have to figure out what Pickard's strengths and weaknesses are, and how to solve that.
I was a bit surprised they didn't go back to him earlier. You mentioned his
Yeah,
undefeated record in the playoffs. He was phenomenal when they pulled Skinner in that first round and going through into the second round before he got injured there.
yeah.
Um, I think he's a guy that they play with a lot of confidence in front of. But again, maybe something to think about if you're going to bet Florida here at plus 104, the opportunity to capitalize on a guy who hasn't really seen much time.
Yeah.
It's a tough decision. Skinner hasn't had his best the last couple, and definitely something to think about there as we look forward here. Maybe again favoring that over at plus money plus 104 on the over. That closes it off here for Saturday, June 14th, game five coming ahead, and Timo will have one more graduated family member as we meet next time. Big congratulations. He's Timo Seppa. I'm Casey Ditzel. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and X. We tweet game by game picks, making sure that you have the insight and analysis behind the NHL's betting market to help you be successful while betting on the chase for the Stanley Cup that is now within reach. And the next time that we pick, we might be picking the Stanley Cup champion. For Timo, I'm Casey. Until next time, have a good one, everybody.